Today's collectible spot, we're having a look at the Square Enix PlayArts Kai The Dark Knight Trilogy #3 Catwoman. Released at the same time as Joker, Catwoman was definitely the next in hand when I went and picked up Joker. The interesting thing, well, not really so much interesting, but I noticed when I went and got Joker I went in expecting very little because the early production images online didn't impress me, but physically Joker was so much better than I expected. Catwoman, on the other hand, looks incredible when I saw images of her online. I'm really hoping the figure is not going to disappoint. On the front is pictures of Catwoman. Now, that's pictures of Catwoman, the PlayArts Kai figure, as indicated by the fact you can see the joints in the elbows. Same motif, same background as the other 4 figures that were released, which were Batman, Bane, Joker, and Catwoman. Really, really nice image. On the back, speaking of images, there's a couple of images of Catwoman. Indicated the other figure in this second wave is #4, the Joker. This is now the 4th figure released, obviously by the fact that it is #4 Joker, but the first 2 were Bane and Batman. To check out more from the good folks over at Square Enix, you can go to www.square-enix.shop.com. Figure features over 26 points of articulation. When they open up the package, once again, she does have the window on the side showing the figure, accessories, and everything else. Indicated down below, it says meow. Meow. On the side, it says, Days of Despair return with the ascent of a new villain. 8 years have passed since Batman disappeared. The city, once filled with darkness, is now a thing of the past. Gotham City eradicated organized crime and transformed into a peaceful metropolis thanks to the enforcement of the Dent Act. However, Selina Kyle's warning that there's a storm coming and Bane's attack on the stock market begins a torrent of destruction followed by despair and suffering. A hurricane of strife is building with the Batman in the center. It says, the Capricious Cat, a devilish thief. She's the one behind the mask of Catwoman, a cunning burglar who appeared on the streets of Gotham City as slinky as a cat and armed with powerful kicks. She steals jewels and money from the rich and affluent. However, she has a personal philosophy to not steal from common people, even rescuing a needy boy from being persecuted. On one hand, Selina Kyle intrudes on the cloistered Bruce Wayne and snatches his mother's pearls, a precious memento, but on the other, she warns him about the impending attack of a new enemy. What are the true desires hidden behind her fickle actions? Not as good of a read-up as Joker, but still definitely good. What I am going to do, obviously, is take a break. I'm going to get this opened up. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at Catwoman. Definitely more to come, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Now, included with the PlayArts Kai Dark Knight figures, you're going to get yourself a clear display stand. Some mild assembly is required, but it is adjustable. And though I didn't show the display stand with the Joker, Joker also came with the same stand. So you got your little base. It has an adjustable head or adjustable neck. You just unpeg it and repeg it depending on how tall that figure is. There's an adjustable neck and adjustable clamps to hold the figure into place. I didn't show it for Joker because Joker really didn't need the display stand. Unfortunately, I find Selina Kyle a little bit opposite. She probably was somebody that unless I can get her stand properly on a flat surface, I might ultimately need the display stand to show her. Just because I find that she doesn't stand fairly well. It could stem from the fact also that Spot's reviewing this on his backdrop, and the figures themselves, especially ones with high heels, not going to stand very well. Having a look at the figure itself, I'm impressed. It's not perfect, but I am overall impressed with how Catwoman turned out. There are a few hiccups here and there. But I think the pros certainly outweigh the cons in this case. The complexion and overall sculpt on Catwoman is good. I wouldn't say it's 100% looking like Anne Hathaway, but still it's to be expected that really a lot of the Play Arts Kai figures aren't quite sculpts or imaginings of the actors themselves. They're more or less just, you know, an interpretation, I guess is the best way to describe it. I think it does look like Anne Hathaway. It looks certainly a lot more like Anne Hathaway than the movie Masters Catwoman looked. She's a little darker around the eye area, especially more importantly this eye right here. You can see that paint's a little messy in that area. Kind of looks like she's got a bit of a black eye. I know they did it to recess the eyes. The one eye, though, seems a little off versus this eye. This eye looks pretty good. This one looks a little off. From a distance, though, you're not going to see it. The camera almost looks as if it's showing a much paler complexion to Catwoman, and it's not really the case. She is a pale figure, but in hand, she's got a lot more of a rosier complexion around the forehead area and around the cheek area than what it's showing in camera. The hair is done well, and on the back, one thing that is common with many Play Arts Kai figures is the idea of translucency when you start getting to hair. More importantly, female hair. I've noticed many Play Arts Kai figures have, when you get to the edges of the hair, it goes translucent. I'm not really a fan of it. I would have been perfectly fine if it was all one color, but it turned out still really good. If you are wondering, though, if the goggles are adjustable on this head, the answer is no. Unfortunately, she does not have adjustable goggles. However, the good folks over at Play Arts Kai did give you a secondary head. You'll see, too, that the hair is a lot more blowing in this than the figure itself's hair with the default head. This would be really good if you had like a bat pod, this scale, this size. I'm wondering, and I don't have it on anymore, unfortunately, but I'm wondering if the Movie Masters bat pod, it was smaller, yes, and it was intended for Movie Masters, but I'm wondering if you could accommodate the Play Arts Kai Catwoman for that, because really that would be a good setup. That would be a good setup. To change the head, now I haven't done it yet, but you simply just peg the head and just peg the secondary head on top. Now I'm going to level with you, and probably a lot of people may agree with me. Nice to have included the extra head sculpt, but I mean really, how many people are going to display her with goggles down? I know I won't. I'm glad that they accommodated that, but for me, I would definitely be goggles up. I mean, if she's Catwoman, I would have the goggles up and then, you know, having it look as if she's got the pair of ears. So I'm just going to remove that. But you can see that I'm happy that they included the extra head. I mean, that's a nice added touch. They didn't really have to. As I've just said, like most collectors would likely display her with this head anyways. But it's a nice touch that they included it. When it comes to her body, now the body is done really well. I use the comparison, unfortunately, of Movie Masters all the time, because that's one of the closest figures that we've gotten to this Catwoman without starting to branch into a Hot Toys version of the figure. If I compare the two, while the other one was fine on its sculpting, I think the paint definitely excels on the Play Arts Kai version of Catwoman versus that of the Movie Masters. One thing I like about the costume is being that it's just a dark gray to black bodysuit that she wears, they've still taken the luxury of adding this really nice shading. Between the shading and the lighting, it looks as if it just looks like it's got a different contour to the body of the figure. Had they just done straight out black, straight out this dark gray, it would have been fine, but I mean, there's so much more personality by having this extra bit of color in it. The same color carries over into her gloves, as you can see there as well, and carries off down to her boots too. showing off all her many assets. She does have some other accessories, and they are, let me just go through them quickly. She does come with two clawing hands, and she does also come with one secondary closed or partially open hand. Now, the partially open hand accommodates this hand right here, but you see the hand itself is fairly close to itself that it really didn't even need to be included. She easily can hold, I assume, the handgun in either of these hands. The need to swap this hand for this hand, I don't get. I really don't get. Speaking of handguns, though, she does come also with her handgun, right, a little hand pistol here. It's almost the weakest aspect of the figure release. I mean, there's no paint or anything on the handgun. It's just a matte black, matte dark gray. But we'll see. Let me just move the camera back here. We'll see if she can hold the handgun. It shouldn't be a problem as I say that, and then we can't get the hand. See, it doesn't, it holds it. She holds it, but not well. Not well at all. In fact, let's try, for the sake of argument, let's try the other hand. I haven't actually tried the other hand yet to see if this would work. For all intents and purposes, it really shouldn't work. Because, I mean, again, like, they didn't really need to include this secondary hand. If that was the case, and this hand holds the gun. Now, you see, this hand holds the gun. So my question then immediately would be, if this hand holds the gun, and we have the options of either just the straight-out clawing hands, you see right here, or the regular open hand, why didn't they just include this hand for the handgun, and then just give us the option to switch it out for the clawing hands? I know I kind of miss the days of the whip. I don't know if maybe ever Play Arts Kai will approach the earlier Batman franchises. That would be awesome if we could get like a Michael Keaton Batman, but more importantly, if we could get a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, that would be really cool. And I don't know if it's possible. Maybe they don't have the licensing for it, but I would really like to see that. In the way of her articulation, I'll just remove her handgun for a second. In the way of her articulation, it's pretty good. Unfortunately, it's hindered in one area more importantly, the head. The head does move up and down, as you can see right here. But when it starts to getting to turning the figure, you can see right away that the hair becomes a bit of an obstacle. It just kind of butts up against the shoulders. That you can move the head, yes. And for what poses you might get her necessarily in, you probably don't need to have the head turn any more than what it's doing right now. But it does obstruct movement, as you can see. When you get to the shoulders move out. She does also have the swinging out hinge in the shoulders, same that was on the Batman and the Bane, but because we're dealing with a smaller frame on Catwoman, the female frame works so much better at not showing off such obvious joints. And I really like that Bane, but the Bane was problematic for how bulky and jointy he looked. Catwoman looks like she flows a little bit easier and doesn't look as jointy. I say jointy, that's a horrible description, but she does have a rotation in the forearms, bend at the elbow, and rotation in the elbow. She does have a hinge in the hand and a rotation in the hand. She has an upper torso swivel, though it doesn't really move all that well. It moves a little bit, but not a lot. Where the movement really comes into play is when you start getting to the lower torso, right around the waist area. She has a very, very relaxed, very easy to move ball joint. That is a nice touch. I really like that. When you get to the legs go out via a ratcheted joint. They move forward, not by a lot, because you can see right here where the leg starts tucking into the waist piece here, and it kind of stops it. Stops it in its tracks. It does move out, but then you start seeing this kind of broken hip section. Being that this is also a rubbery piece, you kind of have to be careful to not get the leg joint too far out from this rubber piece where it's going to get lodged or perhaps start to to wear away at this rubber waist piece area here, because this piece here is just a rubber piece, similar to Bane, not as rubbery though. When you get to the legs, now the legs don't have a swivel here, but they do have a double bend at the knee. And then when you get to the foot, you have a very nice hinge back and forth, up and down rotation. Oh, and also, Spot forgot to really show off, there are her high heels, with little serrated blades on the back there. Just wondering, from a moment there, it looked as if, does she have an actual hinge in her foot? She has what looks to be, she might actually have a hinge in her foot, which is actually really neat. That's a nice added touch I didn't even realize until looking at it now. Overall, I'm happy with the Catwoman. On par with, I would say, Joker, I think Catwoman turned out really well. She's better than Bane. Bane was sculpted well, face-wise and everything else, but I found Bane suffered the most from just awkward joints, awkward visible joints. Catwoman doesn't have that problem. She doesn't have that problem, and she's definitely one of the best plastic releases of a Catwoman that I have seen. She's also a little bit cheaper too. So I mean, if you're looking at a cost-effective way to fill out a display of Dark Knight characters, and you really can't afford this for something like a Hot Toys, I always say this, I really shouldn't use the comparison between companies, but for me, PlayArt's Kai is probably the best plastic character release of these figures. You're getting super articulated figures, and I think you're getting a pretty solid sculpt. Some of them are better than others, and I think Catwoman, for the most part, is one of the better ones. The PlayArt's Kai Dark Knight Trilogy Catwoman, I'm gonna give her a 9. I'm gonna give her a 9. Today's collectible spot, we're having a look at the Square Enix PlayArt's Kai. We're having a look today at the Dark Knight Trilogy. I believe this was number 3, Catwoman. Really happy with how the figure turned out. Really happy indeed. Definitely stick around, guys. Spot's got more collectible spots heading your way. See you guys next time.